make sure that the recording is started. And greeting everyone, if you are accessing this recording. And this evening, we are just discussing a bit of strategies before we delve deep into the subject matter. All right, so as not to forget, I have uploaded all test 1 on your OneNote. So please do me a favor for all of you who are here, if you can just check on your OneNote and sync your OneNote. We were having this discussion in our chat on WhatsApp. Just sync the OneNote. If you're not seeing anything, that doesn't mean that there is nothing. Just please refresh or sync. It's somewhere in the clouds, but it should be in your OneNote, and you should see, when you look at the folders in your OneNote, you should see test 1 prep. And please just check for me in test 1 prep if you are having, a bunch of past papers for test 1, because I want you to start already looking at the kind of questions you are going to get before so let me try again to remember when is. Bear with me. And the information is available, and that's why I give you OneNote, so that we can have everything in one place. I don't want any complaint. But I understand we were just talking about, how busy life can get with work, as well as with other subject that you are doing, but always at the back of your mind, you need to remember that you need to, to set time, right? So it's good that some of you will be off, or, just, consecrate the weekend to sort of catch up. That is very important. And like I said, I do believe firmly that if you take 1 day a week, you just set 1 day a week, not the full day. When I mean 1 day a week, I'm not talking about 24 hours, right? So I'm just saying that a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours, during the weekend, just to go through catching up, and a quick way for you to catch up is, in our chats, I'm always sharing things there, but obviously everything that I'm sharing, I also, put summary of those things in your announcement on ARC. So please do check also ARC. It's quite important for you to. I clarified this last time to say that ARC and the communication on ARC is sort of the official communication channel, right? And WhatsApp is unofficial, but we know that that's the quick way. That's the quick way for you to get in touch with me, and also vice versa. From my side, to get hold of you quickly, we have WhatsApp, right? Thank God for WhatsApp, right? So what I was about to touch, and please confirm this. The reason why I'm going quickly through this, because I just would not want any of you to be in a situation where you are waiting for something before starting your focus, or your studies. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want you to tell me, oh, but I don't have the textbook and all that. Please, all those things, as you know, should be resolved by now, because I give you access to the textbook, and please waste no time. The time that you waste, it's the time that you're going to regret and say, what, I wasted too much time. And the conversation is always to find out the best strategy, because maybe at the beginning of a subject, you're still trying to figure out or strategizing how you're going to study. You're not quite sure. What should I start with? And that's the reason why we're in class, because in class, we talk about these things. And like I said, I've gone even as far as providing to you short learning videos, right? Those things are for you to quickly have quick overview of the learning unit, about maximum 7 minutes, or a short learning video, right? So just go through a short learning video, and then if it's well enough, if you like it enough, it's sort of gonna take away all the fears, you know, or anything that is blocking you from starting. Perhaps you look at a textbook and you're like, man, this textbook is so horrible. It's just black and white. I don't know where I'm going to start. So I'm being serious. I want to take those that wall or those obstacles away from you so that you can focus on the real deal quickly, right? So go through, we do even have a podcast. Come on. So get hold of the podcast, listen to the podcast for maybe learning unit 2, take the short learning videos and see if it gives you quite a good idea, then go into a longer lecture, right? And the longer lecture will probably have a part 1, part 2. It's made in a way so that you can digest it, right? So is that helpful to you guys? These are just advice. Obviously, some of you don't need this advice, but I'm just thinking, I need to put myself in the shoes of some of you who are, probably also very busy with many things, juggling many things. And is this helpful? Okay, silence. I suppose silence is good. So, yeah, I will leave the rest to you guys. I just want to quickly go to time task 1. Your time task 1 is on the 20th of this month. You have about, and that's the reason why I really want you. I'm hunting you down to make sure that you've started. And remember, it's all about building those fundamental skills that you need to have, right? So that when we move to learning unit 5 to learning unit 7, those are more advanced. If you don't understand learning unit 1 to learning unit 4, it would be impossible for you to take on learning unit 5 to learning unit 7, which is more advanced, right? But your first test will be on learning unit 1 and learning unit 2, and your test is coming on the 20th, right? So you have about 13 days, 2 weeks. Please do not waste that time. You would say, well, but I will need just a couple of days to catch up. Yes, you might be catching up with theory, but like I told you, theory could always be in your mind a 20% of what you need to do. The 80% of the time should be consecrated to attempting examples, exercise, trying it out by yourself, right? And discussing with me to say, look, I tried this. I'm not really understanding, these numbers are not making sense. And that's basically the purpose of the class, right? Because it should be, it's like a Pareto analysis. Do you know the Pareto analysis? I'm sure you're very familiar with it. It's a 20-80, right? It's what you do 80%. The little things that you are doing 80% of the time, the minority that will end up mattering most, right? So don't spend too much time on reading the theory over and over, because this is not a theory module. It's not going to be heavy theory assessment you're going to get. Yes, for your test 1, like I told you last time, you would have quite a bit of theory. It could even be half of the paper that is theory, but that is only for your test 1, because we want just to understand, we want to see, sorry, to assess if you are understanding, if your reading is correct, if you're getting a good picture of what is happening here, right? But that theory will decrease, right? For your test 2, you will have less theory, and for your exam, very, very much less theory. It's rare that you have an exam that is even 10% theory. You might have just 5% theory, and that theory is basically just, if you find an answer, you need basically to explain it. That's all. All right. I trust that that's clear. Cool. So this is good. So you know where we are, and you know where to find this information. It is in the our collaboration space, right? And in our collaboration space, you have the assessment breakdown. Here is the assessment breakdown. Um, you have 25% for your test one, 30% for your test two. That is already what? 55%. Plus 10% for your as task. Remember, every time you finish learning a learning unit, go to the respective ICE task. ICE task on ARC, the folder, go in there. So do ICE task 1 for learning unit 1. So after you're done with learning unit 1, do ICE task 1 just to see, to test your understanding. Same for learning unit 2, at the beginning or in the middle or after, reading learning unit 2, go to do your ICE task. Right? So, and you are rewarded for just attempting, not necessarily for passing it. But obviously, we would like you to do well. And as soon as you do a nice task, it will give you the result, right? So it's for you to see if you do understand. Those as tasks, I made them myself, and they really examine your understanding of your learning units. Okay? But that's 65% already. And guess what? Your examination is only 35%. That scary examination, that 3-hour examination at an examination venue is only 35%. But it's a tough examination. And we've spoken about this. I'm not going to come back to it. You will experience it for yourself. But my point to you last time was not to scare you, but to say for those who leave things for the last minute, it would be impossible for you to take the exam and pass. Because this is sort of the main examination for you, because it would be impossible for you to be an entrepreneur without financial skills, which is basically the most important skill you should have. Believe me, money talks. Welcome to disagree with me, but whatever business venture you're going to do, you need to have sound financial backing, right? Yeah. So let's go quickly to our learning unit 2. The reason why I have to open the textbook for you, if you have the textbook, you can also follow with me. If you do have a physical textbook, feel free to play around with it. But like we said, we're studying online, right? We need the digital skills, right? We spend most of our times on computers. I don't know any office that is more paper-based at this, at this period in our history, right? I spend the major part of my day on a PC. I don't know if that's the case also for you, but that's just, we need the digital skills, right? So interpreting financial results becomes now your introduction to the real finance. The first learning unit is very important, because it gives you an overview of all the other learning units. So whatever you feel in learning unit 1, it's basically, we are walking you through all the rest of this course or this module, right? We are walking you through, and we are basically just touching on some key points, but we begin now going deeper into every concept. And I love the flow of this module. It's really the best flow, but it is a journey. And we are designing basically a journey for you to be able to fully comprehend this. But like I said, some of you are working, and it will make sense because this is money. Even if you are not working, you do have a budget. You do you do receive money and all that. A lot of things will ring, right? So it's about a quarter of our time. I want to hear from you. Is everything good?
Yeah, everything's good, my side.
Perfect. Perfect. I like that. I like that. So, guys, again, you didn't pay the money that you paid to just be silent in class, engage as much as possible. And I will not be that lecturer who doesn't engage. Any question is welcome. And yeah, this is the real deal, right? So look again here quickly, because every time you have a learning unit, obviously, look, for all of you who already have a strategy, that's fine, but we'll always highlight some of the strategies when you're looking at the learning unit. There is few themes that would come up when you're looking at the learning unit, right? And by the way, it is in our module breakdown. So when you check the module breakdown, we will give you themes and we will give you what we call learning outcomes. So at the end of the day, when you are reading this learning unit, what is the outcome that we want you to have? Okay, so if you would give me just a second. Right. Okay. So we have, let me see what are the main themes here. The first thing would be, remember, the purpose would not be to read to you. Obviously, you didn't come for that, but to provide you with some of the best summaries you can get. Like I said, you have audio summary, you have visual summaries, but on a day like this, especially because we're starting learning unit 2, I would just make sure that you understand some of the main concepts, because next week or during the week we'll be doing exercises together, right? But it does not make sense for you to attempt any exercise if you do not understand the fundamentals. It will be like driving while you don't even understand the basics of driving. You don't know even where the brake is. Right, that would be suicidal, right? So the effect of income and expense items on the net profit is very, very important. That there is a major theme. And some of the learning outcome would just be to look at the main elements or components of financial statement. So you have already two financial statements that are there: a statement of profit or loss and the comprehensive income statement. So my question to you is, what do you understand by a statement of profit or loss? What other way do you call a profit or loss statement and comprehensive income? Anyone? So the short version of it, we just call it an income statement. And what you're just looking at a series of income or inflows of cash and outflows of cash. So it's just a plus minus game. You have your revenues or your sales, depending on the type of business you are in. Could be the two major businesses that you have is either a manufacturing business or a service. Either you're providing a service. May I ask the question, Cody, who's here, Jess, what kind of company are you working for?
I'm in the building industry, sir.
Sure, right. So that would be uh, definitely production, right?
Yes, we work with both labor and like purchasing products from suppliers, adding our markup, and then selling it. Well, not selling it, but it goes into the project. So essentially, we are selling the product back to the client again.
Absolutely. Awesome, awesome. And that's very, very practical. I think you're going to relate to everything that is happening in this module. Cody, Denver, service or production kind of business?
I work for a property investment company.
Property investment, right?
Correct, yes.
Definitely service, right? Are you just the middleman or are you actually you own the properties?
Uh, Us as a, well, the company owns the properties
Yeah, yeah, sure.
and the
Right,
developments.
exactly. Denver, anything from you?
No, kids' toys, so it's more sales.
All right, all right, all right, all right. So yes, so I think we could. The reason why I'm saying this is that, and you relate to this. There is a service. For example, your restaurant, you would have basically, um, especially in the hospitality business, it's more of providing a service, right? You are providing a service, but every time you have selling goods and a sales of goods, well, that will sort of fall within the manufacturing slash production because you are buying elements in order for you to assemble for example a product. So for toys, if you are manufacturing the toys, that is a manufacturing company, right? If you are building the houses, that is a manufacturing sort of or production. There is an actual production that is taking place. And you will see that when we get to a certain learning unit, we will really focus on the manufacturing itself. Why the manufacturing? Because the manufacturing is the most complex type of business that you will have, right? So if you understand the manufacturing company, you understand everything. And believe it or not, McDonald's became very famous because the way they structured their kitchen was to mimic Ford's production line. Can you imagine? So McDonald's is offering a service, obviously, but the way they structured their kitchen, they were looking at the production line of Ford, and they were very efficient in how they were making their burgers. And guess what? McDonald became the big name out there. So, but there's fundamental principles here is that if you understand the production manufacturing company, you see that there's so many elements involved in the production. And that's level of sophistication. If you are able to understand the basics of that, you would understand any business on the planet. Right? So trust that that's clear. But again, like we said, we have our revenues or sales, whether we are providing a service or we are selling goods. That's basically the starting point of any business. So the primary business activities need to be there, right? Which are income generating activities. So when you have that income, obviously you're gonna deduct your cost of goods sold or your cost of sales. If you are selling things, if you are acquiring things and selling things, you would have some sort of cost of sales. which will represent the direct cost that is attributable to the production of the goods that you are selling. And those costs will include the cost of materials, right? Your direct labor. So picture a manufacturing plant. You would have materials that are being brought in that in your economics 101, you remember the inputs of your production. You have the input, you have the actual production, and you have the output. I always link you to these numeracy modules, which is economics and accounting. So that's the best way for you to understand. You would have your inputs, and your inputs, those inputs would have a cost. The labor, the direct labor, the people who are touching the product and assembling the product, we call that a direct labor. It's different from the secretary who is in the admin building and she is not working in the actual plant. She's not touching the actual product with her own hands. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's clear, right? She's working for the same company, but she's in the administrative side, not in the actual production side, right? So your direct labor would have somehow to touch the product itself or contribute to the actual thing together of the final product. And we do also have what we call overhead. These three things I will be repeating for the rest of the module. And like I said, it's those 20%, right, that matters very much in the end. In your theory, those 20% are very, very critical. So the direct material, direct labor, and the manufacturing overhead, you will hear me call them the three musketeers. Very important. And you will hear them. You don't even need to worry if you're going to remember them, because in everything we'll be doing, I'll be mentioning them. All right. For the service businesses, this may be less applicable, right? You might not have so many. You do have the cost of material. But it's factored in the providing of the service. All right. So what we get by minusing the cost of sales from the sales is the gross profit. Gross profit becomes very important because it represents the profit that a company makes from deducting those direct costs, right? From those direct costs for making the actual product or delivering the service. But what does it represent? When I say just that, you are looking at a minus, and that's it. In your head, cost sales minus cost of sales. I agree with you. But what's the meaning of it? What does the gross of sales means deeply? It looks at how efficient the production or the service delivery of that company is. Remember, we are not touching at other costs at the moment. We are just talking about the cost of sales or the cost of goods sold. So what would the gross profit represent to us? So if you're talking about the gross profit, you are looking probably at the how much sales are they able to make? Are they sort of making sure that the cost of sales is under control, right? Because you want to maximize your gross profit at that point, right? So it's definitely a representation of how efficient a company's production or service would be. You're looking at your operating expenses, right? Next on the screen, you have your operating expenses, right? Your operating expenses will be the cost that you are incurring while you're running the business. but they are not necessarily directly related to the production of the goods or the services. They're not directly related. We call them indirect cost. So